Welcome to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. As always, thanks for joining us. So, change. We all go crazy when we think about change in life. Even when we choose it, we get a little freaked out by it. So to help you on your journey and to navigate change, hopefully a smidge easier, I have a free gift for you. If you go to my website, I have a free communication style assessment, and you will get a report showing your natural superpowers and how you show up for your clients, business partners, whoever it is. Flip side, you also get a report of your lowest style, which is typically our blind spots. For me, I personally think blind spots are sometimes more impactful understanding and navigating than our natural superpowers. So go to whitmanassociates.com, and that is my gift to you to help you on your journey of change. So now, as I write my intros for the show, I always like to start with a motivational quote. So the quote today is by Benjamin Franklin, and Benjamin says, "Energy and persistence conquer all things." So that's funny. My whole life, I've been told by my guests, especially before we were chatting, before we hit record, I've been told that I have this positive aura and this high energy level. The flip side, I've also been told I exhaust people. So due to that different perspectives or that different spectrum, through the years, hearing these types of descriptions, right, really has helped me pause multiple times through my life to become curious as to how humans connect and grow, specifically through the exchange of energy. Now, for me, energy is contagious, right? So I am always mindful every time I'm amongst humans, right, with people, so that I can use my energy to inspire and energize and flip it, not exhaust anymore. So it's been a lifetime of practice and coaching as to how to use my strengths and natural gifts, right? This positive energy, this inspiring energy, my light, whatever you want to call it. And I use it to help others find their strength and their light to shine in the world. And this is such a great topic. It's an important topic, especially with everything going on around the world. So as an accomplished athlete, player, then as a coach for over 25 years, my guest and friend, Kurt Bruckmann, has always had this innate drive to lead by example and experience. Now, he does this while helping athletes in developing their understanding of performance through their combined physical, mental, and their energy makeup, and becoming the most complete athlete that he or she desires. Now, transition, as we all know, is part of all sports. And by assisting the athletes in the trusting, and for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, I'm doing air quotes right now. So by assisting the athlete and trusting the process through the empowerment of self-understanding, inner energy flow, and aligning with mind and body, we create the opportunity in becoming the complete athlete. Now, our mind, body, and energy is our power, not just in the athletic culture, but in life itself. So please help me welcome my amazing guest, Kurt, to the show. And I'm super excited about our conversation, Kurt. So thanks for being on.
Thank you, Connie. You're awesome. And I'm very honored to be on the show. And you do such wonderful things for people and bringing them in and getting the word out, which is really spectacular. So, fantastic that you're doing all, Connie. Again, thank you so much.
My pleasure. And Kurt, it's people like you that make this show relevant, because change is change, and none of us can escape it. We think we can. And I don't know, you probably hear this too. Like, some of my clients will say to me, "Well, I didn't have a choice." And my response is, "Well, you had a choice. You chose to do nothing. That's okay, but you had a choice. You just chose to do nothing." So don't deflect and blame the world that, I can't because you have choice every day, and change is part of that choice. And I just think it's so important to have people like you on the show. So let's start first, Kurt, ground us a little bit. So what is core energy dynamics?
Yes. So core energy dynamics consists of basically four concentrations: leadership, well-being, performance, and transition. All four, we all have. We are all leaders unto ourselves. And this is important to acknowledge. There's a process that we have in giving us confirmation of how our energy works as a leader. and how that comes out to be who we are. So we start with a concentration of understanding awareness, acceptance, validation, which will open us up to choice, conscious choice.
Yeah.
And in that, we trust the process as we go through our transition. Now, with each one of these steps, we must meet them with 100% of our energy. So as we move forward, understanding who we are as individuals and that we have choice, we learn to take conscious choice. And as Connie, you were pointing out, there's a lot of we all have choice. And I don't know about you, Connie, but I've had lots of choice, and not all have been my desired outcome.
Exactly. I hear you, brother.
Yeah. So when we take conscious choice, it's more confirmation of who we are. So in the energy platform, and again, to go on with the core energy dynamics, leadership, we need well-being. So in that essence, we are very conscious of how we are as what makes us operate to our fullest capacity. And again, this is part of the process we just described briefly. Move on to the performance. Now, performance is actually where the institute from where I received my licenses and certifications, Institute of Professional Excellence and Coaching, actually is founded here in Shrewsbury, New Jersey. It is now international. And so when I saw all of this, the performance I found out is where it was first founded of the four identities of what it means to have core energy understanding. So the performance was brought in by the athletes, right? It was founded there, and the proof of concept just exploded. Because in performance, we need everything that we just said: leadership, well-being, and now transition. So the four of them are really intertwined. But again, it's the process that we do. If we start with the leadership as individuals, and we give 100% of whatever we're doing and being aware of our senses, our internal senses, we work with our inner energy first. And we acknowledge our inner energy through our senses: taste, smell, touch, intellectual property, experiences. Now, as I say that, I'd like to say that I am not a therapist. I am not a psychiatrist. I am a core energy dynamic specialist. Remember, there's the mind, the body, and then we have, I love to use the energy. So when we understand that we are capable of achieving any of our outside desires, we must begin internally, because we have what we call outside influencers. The influencers can derail us. Now, we deal with two types of energy: catabolic and anabolic. The catabolic is where we lie in that low energy level. Everyone loses, we're apathetic. We have really no ambition to do anything. We're frozen. So what happens then? Most of us, majority of us, get exhausted by it, and we start to climb out. So we start to work into, everyone loses to, you know what? I'm going to win, but no one else can win yet. We're still in that low line energy. Now, when we start to break out of that, we start to collaborate, co-create. So when we speak about the leadership, yes, it's important that we understand our leadership and how we operate, but we cannot do it alone. We hear, Connie, you've heard it so many times too, and all the audience here, you got to do it yourself. I push back there. We start with ourselves, yes, but because of who we are as individuals and partners, and whatever we may do, doesn't matter, relationships are everywhere, business, personal, whatever we may do, we need others in collaboration, not for them to make up our minds. We do that ourselves. Again, if we're 100% aware of what's happening around us, the outside influencers will not take hold of us and take us away from going into the accepting of what is going on around us, who we are. Again, 100% is very simple. It's just being who we are.
And being authentic, Kurt, right? That just being true to yourself. And it's funny because I learned the hard way as a business owner. And I'll just share a quick story. I remember, because our kids grew up together, our kids played hockey together. So Kurt and I we go back, right? You and my husband coached, you guys were bench coaches. And so we know each other fairly well. When I started my business 20 years ago, my kids were babies. And I remember John, my older son, was going into preschool, and I went to a meeting, and it was a co-op in Red Bank. And you had a mother help, and the parents were very involved. And I remember driving home, and I just started my business, and I was driving home. By the time I got home, I had actually cut myself with my nails holding the steering wheel, because all I kept thinking is, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I have to, there's only so many hours in a day. And I started panicking. And I remember I got home, and my husband said, what's the matter? And Kurt knows me well enough. I don't cry. If there's a problem, let's figure it out. Pull up your bootstraps. Let's move forward. I burst into tears. He's like, oh God, somebody died, right? She's crying. And I said, I can't do this. How am I going to do this? And all he said to me, Kurt, he goes, all right, so what can you give up? I can't give up. What do you mean give up? Right? Like a crazy person, right? Crazy mom and wife. And finally he said to me, look, I spent a half a day cleaning the house on a Saturday, because who had time during the week? He says, can we hire a cleaning person? We don't have money for that. I'm starting a business. And he says, well, how much is a cleaning person, and how much is an hour of your time if you can make an extra sale? And all of a sudden I went, we're hiring a cleaning person, right? But here's the thing. When we're so close to our own crap, like I was in that moment, I've got to do all of these 1,000 things by myself. It's a ridiculous way to think, but I didn't know any other way. It was a blind spot for me. If you want it done right, do it yourself, right? That's how I was raised. And that's just not how the world is anymore. Collaboration, sharing ideas. You take your idea and you talk to someone, and all of a sudden your idea, not even that they want anything for it, but your idea becomes amplified better, because you have two brains are better than one, right? So all of these things that you're saying is really true. I have a question for you, follow-up question. You talked about the leadership and all of that. So I want everybody, number one, to be clear. Kurt doesn't just work with athletes. This is the foundational program, really is for not only athletes, but for leaders. And you deal with executives in different companies, et cetera. So leadership, are you finding that, I'm going to say, people are waking up to the old model of leadership, maybe through the 80s and 90s, even the early 2000s? Are you finding that people are finally saying, all right, this top down, do as I say, not as I do mentality? Is there a shift that you're seeing?
Absolutely. And it's been going on for a long time. It just took, I remember it all sort of started when we were doing in the analog area. And then when the digital area came along, the early 90s, mid 90s, that, oh my goodness, what's going on here? And then that horror, that, 2000 YK are all going dark, there's that herd mentality there. So obviously it doesn't happen. And this is where we talk about transition and, fear. Fear happens to us. Yeah. And so sure. Is what I concentrate with the individuals is that when we're in the moment and we're 100% there, that we fear, you know what? You want to come in? Come on in. My conscious choice is to say, you're not staying. And it won't. Why? There's something in life that is a constant. Time. What does time do? It moves forward. It doesn't go horizontal. Now we call the horizontal thinking past and future. Neither one of us does any good. In the moment is where we operate at 100% our potential. So Connie, yes, I am seeing, so is what I've been asking, all from sea level all the way down, because the sea level is starting to drip away. The titles are dripping away. Everyone's got self-worth. We all know that. And that's being announced now. Again, because now we're in the digital world.
Yeah.
You go into everything because we've seen that the hybrid in the office, out of the office, at home, what are your preference? So people are finding who they want to be. So I do a small exercise. I'll do it with one-on-one, small groups, large groups. Doesn't matter. Athletes, traders, whatever, executives, doesn't matter. I say, which would you prefer first? To do or to be? You know what most people say, don't you?
Do.
Yes, indeed. You see, this is why we immediately hit it off so many years ago. Now, when I shift the lens, if you will, and we talk about how would it feel to be all of who you are in the present moment, where I find peace, because there's transition. I know that if my conscious choice wasn't the desired outcome, doesn't matter. It's going to keep moving, just so long as it's conscious choice. Very, very important. Connie, you pointed that out. There's choice, but now there's the conscious choice. So when people start to listen to the fact that they could be more empowered in their do if they be who they are.
Yeah.
And people are becoming much more aware of that now at all levels of the workforce, at all levels of their personal understanding and their relationships. And it's time and people are doing this on their own. It's time for all of us to work together and understand that everyone we meet is our teacher and our student too. We get takeaways no matter what. And when it's the most difficult time to communicate, that's the best. We learn about the issue that's at hand. We learn, as importantly and more importantly, about ourselves and how we are dealing in such a way, but also about the other side that also has a leadership inside of them. And that's a beautiful thing.
And it's interesting. We were talking before we started recording that, 20 years ago when I was 40, I intuitively, everything we're talking about, I kind of knew it. And again, my energy is always high. I always put my best foot forward. I don't take shortcuts, just not who I mean, shortcuts with my own personal development. I'm a lifelong learner, like all those things felt right to me without realizing. And then, 20 years ago, everything like in my inbox, manifestation, right? The universal laws, all of this stuff that I had never heard of. And now it's all mainstream language. So I agree. I think the arc of transformation on the personal level of us shining our light more brightly, that we're understanding we can do that, where before I think a lot of our population were let me hide and fly under the radar, and it's shifting. And I think that's a good thing, because everybody has a gift and everybody has a purpose. And if you come and you don't live your purpose, I feel like that's where we go into, what were the two energies? It was the first one, the catabolic, right?
Yes.
That's where we kind of go right down.
The line, yes.
The lower one. And it's hard to pull yourself up to that anabolic energy level, which is really where we create and thrive. The world thrives, though, when we're at that energy level, right? Energy is contagious. I said that in my intro, but energy is shared. So if we're sharing this very, I'm looking back, catabolic energy, that brings the energy of the world down when we can raise it up. And that's what our world needs right now, is more enlightened people like you, more people sharing that, especially at the executive level, we need to understand the power, the human power that we have, but also the impact on the people in our orbit, but also the world as a whole. And this is an important topic. Do you want to go ahead and add something?
Let me just tag on there, Connie, because this is something that, attracted us to become such close friends so quickly. And our sons as well resonate,
Absolutely.
They were friendly then, they still are.
Yep.
And this is the beauty of, the game of hockey, but we can't go there right now because I'll just explode with all sorts of stuff.
Me too.
Because it's such a feeder into life because there's so much going on, but in all sports. But you don't have to be an athlete to understand all this and to execute it. It really is just the idea that our grandparents, our great grandparents lived a certain way and handed down their beliefs on how they should have their children raised their parents. And our grandparents handed that down to our parents. Generations, right? And then our parents handed it down to us. Well, we're kind of the stop out because now no longer analog. Most of what they say anyway, from great grandparents down to parents to us, is really not applicable anymore. Yes, moral fiber, standards, yes. But the most important thing is communication. And the neuroscientists have identified that in communication, 80% is listening. Isn't that interesting?
Fascinating.
Yeah. And we have 70,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts
are negative
from yesterday. And we can say that yesterday is negative. Can we reflect in yesterday? Yes, that is it. Touch and go. Can we speculate or pontificate about the future? Yes, touch and go. No, in the moment. That's right. Where we all resonate, because there lies the empowerment of us to understand, if we could all grasp the understanding that we're not married, we're not stuck, we're not confined, we're not jailed.
That's right.
Because in transition in time there's always change. And with change means transition. And people now are not, because becoming more aware of what that means, those words were frightening. Fear comes in, catabolic energy, boom.
Absolutely.
No, if we accept it, be who we are, want to be. That's our freedom. In the moment, it's the peace. It's like the hurricane, right? Hurricanes, woo, woo, all this outside influence is coming into our lives, telling us to do this, telling us to do that. We're not speaking the language of the generation. That's part of what we need to do to communicate. Back to the movement, the outside influencers, whatever they might be, parents, social. We've identified them. There's physical, environmental, social, mental, spiritual. All these things are our outside influencers. We allow them to come in, and that will derail us, because then we're looking at judgment.
Yep.
No, none of us should judge, because you know what, Connie? I love you, but I'm not in your boots. Neither is Rob, your husband.
Yep.
And this is where we understand that if we are very understanding of our awareness, our acceptance, our conscious choice opens up opportunity.
That's right.
To go ahead and take that step of action and trusting the process of ourselves creates that transition. And that's where we embrace it, because we're safe in transition, just like in the eye of the hurricane. Why is there an eye of the hurricane? What is that, Connie? All the motion, all the wild weather and all this going around, and then there's calm in the middle. Why? That's our leadership. That's where we are. And we get derailed, all of us, so easily. The outside influencers. So now that people have started to, because of the pandemic, and we referred to the analog shifting into the digital briefly, everyone's saying, oh, it's the digital world. Or I mean, COVID, the viral, the pandemic is that. No, it's been going on for 20 plus years of this transition. It took the pandemic to push us inside, literally, physically inside.
Yep.
What do people do? What have we been doing? Taking the dive that we should all do with confidence that it's okay. We're all good. We're all neuroscientists. We're all better than we think we are. Each and every one of us. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. And you said that before to me, that we're better than we think we are. And it's really true. And I want to comment on the judgment, right? We're really good at judging ourselves, situations, and other people, right? We're really good. And we have to stop, because especially I think I judge myself much more harshly than I would ever judge anyone else.
That's the inner critic. That's what we work on.
That's the inner critic, right? And here's the thing, right, Kurt? We all have the inner, like, nobody, like, you're like, oh, Connie and Kurt are so illuminated. No, we have our crap too. That we have to deal with every day. Here's the thing, and everybody listening, I really hope you're feeling this, because we have so much power within ourselves. We're afraid to tap into it because of unknown, or because of, and what you said before about the generations. We have beliefs in place that we're not even aware of. They're biases on how we naturally respond to a situation without thought, because it was how we were taught. And I was saying to Kurt beforehand, because he does know my boys, sometimes my kids will say something and they'll look at me and I'll look at them and I'll think, where did that come from? Like, wow, that was a deep feeling, but where did it come from? Because it's not the truth of the situation. It's not the truth of our relationship in this house, whatever it is. And you start to dissect it, but you have to understand it and be aware that just happened. Otherwise, that opportunity to learn and grow has vanished. So that's why people like you, Kurt, and my show, what we're trying to do is trying to help people step into their own greatness without fear, and having that inner voice of I am good enough, right? That's really the essence of what we're talking about. I am good enough.
You just hit on something so beautiful. One of the other exercises that I use, and it's very empowering. How would it feel to look in the mirror and say, I am Connie. I am beautiful. I am a good person. I am going to do great things today. I am. You see, we don't speak to ourselves that way. As to your point, we're the inner critic. We're too busy there. Why? That's draining energy. What's that serve us? Let's start talking about serving ourselves. Yeah. And this is where people are starting to realize, yes, this is where the C levels and the executives are realizing, damn, man, I got to get down there and I got to talk to all levels. I can't rely on my managers. Yes, they're part of the team. A team's a team. Every teammate is important as the next. There's no one that's more valuable than the other in the team. So we're in corporate world. They're just starting to do something that is actually an old model many, many years ago. And I learned from my father's brother. He had one sibling. And he, in fact, it was my grandfather that taught my father and my uncle to go into the kitchens when they went to restaurants and go to the chefs and the sous chefs. Back then you had freedom to do this. Obviously, it's a little difficult to do it now. And say, thank you so much before we even ate. Thank you for so much for what you do. With a smile on our face. I was 5 and 6 and what the heck's that about? Well, we sat down I'll never forget this. It's the first time it happened. Sat down, we had our dinner. It's okay, great, let's go. I want to go get a sundae. Let's go somewhere else. Sure. When the waiter came along and asked us all for our dessert orders, my grandfather and my father got up. My uncle wasn't there. Got up, came over to me, took me up, and we went to the kitchen. And we thanked all the dishwashers, all the people who had created. Together. A kitchen is a team.
That's right.
An executive branch is only a branch. The branch is going away. It's now a team. They're realizing it's team.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Yeah, if I'm working for a big corporation and I can stay home and get my job done maybe even more efficiently, I don't know. This is a big paradigm going through. Or do hybrid or whatnot. But
That's right.
now there's conscious choice.
Yeah.
Which will enable us to be able to give 100% of what we are in our jobs and in our life. And as importantly, if not more, our families. Because we find that calm in the eye of the storm, and we are who we are. Be who we want to be. This is no dress rehearsal.
Yeah. Amen.
We are on it. We have our own stage, and we are our own actor. Make conscious choices.
Yeah. And I love that. I don't remember where I was, and there was a sign about it's your stage. Life is your stage, right? You're on stage. And the quote on this little plaque, it said, who's in the front row and who's in the back row? Choose wisely. Another choice here, right? Because the people in the front row, you want your cheerleaders. You want people to say, amen, you're doing great. Keep going. I love you. You're miraculous. Look at what you're creating. And you want the naysayers, who's often family members, in the back, keep your opinion to yourself. And really, we want them in the lobby and maybe even the parking lot. We don't even want them in the amphitheater, right? But it's really true. And we have like a couple of minutes, but I do want to share. I have a colleague in Maine. He's one of the oldest businesses in Maine. He's the CEO of Hancock Lumber. And about 12 years ago, he had a spasmodic something. It's a voice disorder. So he literally he speaks broken like that. So it's a very distorted voice. Well, when this first happened 12 years ago, Kurt, it was super painful. He couldn't talk. So here's his CEO. All of his people would he's running this company's been in existence since 1848, I think it was, right? So it's 170 years old or something.
Wow.
They're coming into oldest business in the country, coming to him saying, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And he said, because it was so painful, he would say, what do you think? Well, they could get out. And this is what he learns, which is about leadership too, right? Changing the paradigm of how we approach our employees. He said it was miraculous to him because he was thinking, wow, that was a good answer. That's a better answer than I would have given, right? So what he did is he had a meeting with all of his direct reports and said, here's the deal. And long and short, I can't talk. So do what you think you have to do. You're really in a crossroad, then let's brainstorm as a team, because I can't do this anymore alone, because the pain was really staggering. And he was trying to figure out his own health stuff. Fast forward the past decade, that company, so he wrote a book called The Seventh Power. The idea, though, is he has dispersed power to his team, and he changed the name from Hancock Lumber to, I think, I forget the name, but it's the business of something, of the seventh power or something like that. But here's the kicker. The past decade, he has made more money in profit for the company, net profit, in 10 years than all of the previous 5 generations before him. So when he's on my show and he's written books and he's brilliant, and we laugh a lot, and I say, people, are you listening? Like, proof is in the pudding. But his model clearly works because his paradigm has created, not only he has a 90% rating for his employees, like he has no turnover, 90% satisfaction and job satisfaction, which I think in the country it's about 33%. So he blows all these stats out of the water. But for the executives who listen to this show, I giggle and I say, did you hear that? The proof is in the pudding, because his model not only works feeling good and his employees stick around and all those things. There's cost savings in that, but he's made more money, profit in the business than all of his family, prior to him. So that's what we're talking about here. It's owning it, right? And trusting not only yourself, but the people around you. And it goes back to what we started with, Kurt. You can't do it alone. You just can't do it alone. And in today's, where everything is moving fast and it is digitized and we're meeting more people, everything is exponential, right? We need people to be able to we need community. We need I call them my peeps, right? But we need our peeps to be able to just do bigger and better and faster and make a difference in the world. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want to do? Make a difference in the world?
100%. We want to do that in any way we can. And The more that we co-create and collaborate, the more we bring ourselves elevate, to your point, and then everyone is in. And energy is really, I'll go against any mindful talk or about the body. Sure, get it. Let me tell you, I've lived it, you've lived it, we've all lived it. Energy, experience. And energy, there's no good or bad.
That's right.
Because it's a continuum. It's a continuum of time and transition. And that's where we all benefit. We don't benefit from looking in the past and staying there. We know that rabbit hole. Most of us have been down there. Very, very tough. And then we come out, we start to realize, we don't want that darkness. We can't exist in isolation.
Yes.
So therefore, once we realize that, okay, it's safe to be who I want to be.
Yeah.
Because I'm not stuck in having to be that all the time, because there's transition. I'm going to change. My partner, who I love dearly, I'm married to, is going to change. What do? You communicate. You don't stop communicating divorce.
That's right.
Right, or whatever it might be, or break up a company because partners are, this, that. No, I'll accept the energy. Don't get stuck in anything that we do, because the energy is going to come in full force when it knows that we're aware of it and how to accept it and to move forward with it in a transitional area. If we don't accept that and do that, the energy will dissipate. It won't be the same type anymore.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's all in the moment. It happens in the moment. The future is in the moment.
Yeah, I love it. And we're not great at that. We're not great at living in the moment because we're always worried about, or we hold on to those past hurts. You can't go back and change it. Just change your thinking going forward so it doesn't happen again, right? These are the choices and the conscious choices that I think we make. Oh my God, Kurt, we could talk forever. We're out of time, but I do want to share, listen, if you are interested or if Kurt is resonating with you, you need him at your organization, you as a small business owner aren't sure how to get to that higher level of energy, right? To share, because that's what, by the way, that higher energy is what attracts you, it becomes that attraction, magnetism, because people want to be around that positive energy. So if you need help with that, please reach out to Kurt directly. His email is Kurt Bruckmann, and it's MANN, the number 11 at gmail.com. I will post it in the show notes. You don't have to worry about it, but I do recommend you have a conversation with Kurt, see what he's about, see if what he's doing can help you either personally, from an athlete's perspective, or at an organizational level. I think that you can do it all. So reach out to Kurt. Thank you so much for being on, my friends. Important topic. It's an important topic.
Thank you for having me. You're a beautiful woman inside and out.
Oh, I love you.
You're
And
awesome.
thank you for saying that. My head just grew, guys. My husband's going to be like, go back in your office. Thanks. And great seeing you, as always, Kurt. So thanks so much.
Thank
And
you
I
so
hope
much.
really my pleasure. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together that, yes, change can be super difficult. I get it, but I hope between my guests and I, we provide some good information, tips, and strategies to help you move the needle on whatever change you're going through. It doesn't really matter, right? Everybody's in some type of flux. Again, reach out to Kurt. He is a wealth of information. Just stay true to yourself. And hopefully, I love the little exercises that Kurt did with us today, those 2 little questions he asked us. Ask yourself those questions. Information is beautiful. When you apply the information that you're learning, that's where we get results, and that's where the magic happens. So I hope that you asking yourself those questions that Kurt asked us today is just another movement on your needle forward through navigating change. Thank you again, Kurt. Thank you all for joining. It's always a pleasure. I am truly honored that you're on this journey of change with me. And I do hope my guests and I provide some tips and strategies to make life a little bit easier. Then I've done my job. I'll see you next week. Have a great week full of inspiration and love. See you later, guys. Thanks.